Guess who's coming to dinner? Well, hello there. Happy Monday. It's a big day in the Ville. We got things going on. We still got this COVID. Now they've taken the governor's executive powers away from him for the mask. Keep your mask on. That's all I can tell you. Just keep your mask on. But now Pfizer has officially sanctioned the vaccine, that it's not just a trial anymore. It has gone the whole gamut of however long it's supposed to take to run out. So you don't have that as an excuse anymore to go get your shot. And if you all don't want this city to close down again, I think you better pay attention, because if it goes up, now this is a different kind of variant and it's worse than the other one. We thought COVID-19 was bad. They got something new for you. But today I am honored to have a guest with us today. He's a Louisvillian. You know, Louisvillians love a Louisvillian when they're doing something and on the come up, doing their thing, have been around the world and back again. You know what I mean? You know, we do that. So I'm going to present to some and introduce to others our guest today, Mr. Andre Chemo Stone Guess. Hey, Andre.
Miss Janice, how you doing?
I'm blessed and glad to have you here with us today.
Oh, I'm pleased as punch to be here.
So, Andre, tell us about your Louisville roots.
Louisville roots. Well, you know, my family goes back over 100 years in the Smoketown neighborhood. I come from Smoketown royalty.
Okay, I hear you.
You know, my grandmother, my father's mother, Willie Leola McQuaney Guess. You know, her father, my great grandfather, funeral home, auto repair shop. You know, they had a little money.
Okay.
So, you know, when folks like to think of Smoketown, they like to think of something that's destitute and poor.
No, not at all.
Yeah, our folks, you know, like I said, I didn't realize it until I got much older.
Okay.
I come from Smoketown royalty. I grew up in the house that my father grew up in. He bought the house from my grandmother, raised the 5 of us in that house. And the house, unfortunately, was destroyed by fire in 2011. And my father decided not to rebuild it. My mother passed away a few years ago. My father now, who's 88 years old, lives with my nephew in the Iroquois neighborhood.
Okay.
But you know, that 926 South Jackson had guesses on that plot of land and in Smoketown from the early 1900s until 2011. So.
Wow. You know, I had some relatives that lived right there on Jackson, the Flemings.
The Flemings.
Frederick Fleming had a brother named Nathaniel Fleming, Reba Fleming.
I'm sure my father and them all that doesn't ring a bell with me. I'm sorry, but I'm sure you know, my family would know those names for sure.
Okay, because my family as well, my father's side, the Carters were all from Smoketown.
Mm-hmm.
But then I found out that my family was part of Newburgh that used to belong to us. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Newburgh belonged to Black folks until they started putting in plumbing, and that's how they were able to take the land back from the folks in Newburgh. But that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother show. Well, I have you here today because I want to say congratulations for becoming the new president and CEO of the Fund for the Arts. Now, that's on and popping to me. And when I saw I saw your interview on TV, I was just in my house shouting. You'd have thought I was your cheerleader. I was saying, wow, that's Andre, you know, because I had met you a few years ago. And that came about because I saw an article in the Courier Journal about you. So tell us how you ended up at the Fund for the Arts.
Boy, it's a circuitous route, you know. It was one I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to you with that title under my name. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I thought I was going to be a doctor when I was growing up, you know.
Yeah.
When I was in first grade, my first grade teacher, Miss Dixon, at Booker T. Washington Elementary School, which is now part of Mazik.
Mazik, okay.
Yeah, used to be Mazik Junior High and Booker T. They were in the same building. The newer part of the building was Booker T, and then the other part of the building, which
wasn't it called Jackson Junior High School?
It was Jackson at first,
okay,
and then it was Mazik
okay.
and Booker T. So there were two schools in one building. But my first grade teacher, Miss Dixon, she, I don't know whether she was lying to me or not, but she told me when I was in first grade, I was the smartest kid she ever taught. So,
sounded good to you, huh?
She taught my brothers, so I took that compliment. That means I was smarter than them.
Okay.
So, but I mean, maybe she was pulling my leg. I don't know, but I believed her, and she told me I could be anything I wanted to be. And her husband was a doctor, and so she took me to visit him, and I got hooked. I was like, I want one of those white lab coats. I want to be a doctor.
Right.
So I took all the math and science classes. A little math and science nerd. Went all the way through. Went to Cameron Middle School, an advanced program. Then I went to Male High School, and took all the math and science classes there, and was admitted to Boston University in a 6-year medical program, and thought I was going to be a doctor. And I got up there and realized very quickly I didn't want to be a doctor. So I ended up coming back to Louisville and going to University of Louisville. I got a degree in economics with a minor in actuarial math. So I took one of those actuarial exams because I heard if you pass one of those exams, you could guarantee yourself a job. And so I needed to get a job because I was engaged to be married, and my wife had a job and was graduated, and I was still in college. So I graduated, passed one of those exams, and got a job at Commonwealth Insurance, Capital Holding, Providian. Those are the 3 names over the course of the time me working there. And worked there for like 4 years, found out very quickly I didn't want to be an actuary. So I left there and went to work at the Lincoln Foundation. Dr. Samuel Robinson, I'm sure a lot of people, they know Sam. Right. So Dr. Robinson took me under his wing and taught me all the stuff you can't learn in a book as it relates to being a nonprofit executive. So I was on schedule to become his successor. He was grooming me to take over the place after he retired. So I was there, working on a PhD in urban and public affairs because he told me I couldn't have his job unless I had a doctorate. So I went back to school, was working on that. And so a funny thing happened on the way to me becoming the president of the Lincoln Foundation is I got a call from a dear friend of mine. You might know him. His name is Wynton Marsalis.
Yes.
So Wynton called me initially in '98. I saw him when I was in Nashville. I was backstage at a show, went to hang out with him. And he was like, yeah, man, we just got awarded to be the cultural component of this new project that's going to be at the Coliseum site in Columbus Circle. Mm-hmm. And we're going to build this brand new building. We're going to call it the House of Swing. You need to come up here and be a part of that. And so I was like, yeah, okay. Sounds good to me. I thought he was just pulling my leg.
Okay.
And so the next year I was in New York celebrating one of my dear friend's 30th birthday. And I called his assistant to see if he was performing that weekend, and he wasn't, but there was a concert at Jazz and Lincoln Center. It was called Duke in Small Doses. They had Diane Reeves, Nicholas Payton, and a bunch of other folks playing the music of Duke Ellington and small band. Mm-hmm. And so I got tickets to that show. And then after the show, because I called Wynton and I couldn't get a hold of him. It's pre-cell phone days, really. We weren't carrying around cell phones back then, like they are.
You have to wait till they hear the message on the answering machine.
So, I literally ran into him on the street on like the corner of 65th and Broadway.
Get out of here.
And he was like, Dre? I was like, Skane. That's his nickname, Skane. He said, what you doing there? I said, I came to watch the show. He said, well, why did you call me? I said, I did call you. He said, what you about to do right now? I said, I'm about to go back to the hotel with my man. We chilling. He says, come here, go with me. So we went up. They had this reception after the show at the Kaplan Penthouse on Lincoln Center's campus. Okay. And they had this beautiful soul food spread. It was just like, because they were celebrating the Ellington centennial. Because, Ellington turned 100 in 1999.
Okay. And so,
wow. And so we went up there, we were hanging out. So he started taking me around and introducing me. Basically went up to the executive director and said, this is Andre Guess. He's a bad, you need to hire him. And he did the same thing to the chairman of the board. And next thing I know, this is in September of 1999. By March of 2000, I was living in New York. And so I worked there. That's where I met you.
Right.
Jazz and Lincoln Center. You came up, we hung out. So I was there for almost 7 years. Was initially the chief financial officer and then became the executive producer, produced the shows in New York and all over the world. And, being in New York and working in New York is like dog years, man. It's like 1 year is 7 years. It was like 49 years working there for 7 years. They suck the life out of you. So I was like, you know what? I need to slow down. I need to do something else. So I started my own consulting firm and management firm. So started doing consulting work for arts organizations. And also we managed the careers of jazz musicians. So at one point in time, I worked with Nicholas Payton, Mark Whitfield, Todd Williams, Sean Jones, Aaron Deal. And the client we worked with the longest and who had the biggest impact on was Christian McBride. So we managed his career for 13 years.
Wow.
So then I was in Pittsburgh in 2010 working on a consulting project for the Pittsburgh Jazz Orchestra and found out that they had an opening for the CEO of the August Wilson Center for African American Culture. So I didn't think at that time, I didn't want to go back and work in another arts organization, but it was such a unique organization.
Right.
Took up a whole city block, was right downtown in Pittsburgh, celebrating Black culture. This is like right up my alley. So threw my name in the hat, got the job, had a 2-year contract. And after the end of 2 years, I was like, now I know there was a reason I didn't want to go back inside, right? So, I chose not to renew my contract and decided to come home. Although I didn't want to come home. My wife and I were trying to figure out where we were going to go. And I was like, where are we going? She said, we're going home. I said, I don't want to go home. She said,
tell me about it.
She said, I don't want to go. I didn't want to go to New York. So now we're even, right? so we came back here. We had a daughter. Our son, who's a musician. He's a classical composer, pianist and composer. He lives in Lisbon right now. But our 2 youngest daughters, one was in the 11th grade, one was in the 8th grade. So we needed some stability from them. So we came home. But the only thing that made it palatable for me was the fact that I was traveling so much with our clients. So I was gone 150 days a year. So I was never here. So I never got involved with the community. So we got back here in 2012. But I never was around. I may have gone downtown maybe 5 times in the past in that 8 or 9 year period.
Right.
And so then we were going to move to New Orleans. We decided, I convinced my wife that after our youngest graduated from college in 2021, she just graduated in May, that we would move to New Orleans. And had the pandemic not happened, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be in New Orleans.
Right.
But then the pandemic happened and Breonna Taylor happened and George Floyd happened. And we were like, we gotta hunker down. We gotta stay here. We gotta be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. Yes. And that's when my heart changed 180 degrees for the love of my city. Whereas I not had a lot of love for Louisville. And even though I was here, that really broke my heart that all this was happening in my city.
Right.
And my wife and I said, we just got to be a part. We got to use the resources that God has blessed us with to try to help the city as much as we can. So we decided to stay. We bought some property. We bought a condo on St. James Court. I'm sitting there right now. If I'm looking that way, I can see the fountain. We got the best view of the fountain on the entire block.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was going on about my business. I was, I had closed down the artist management business and went back to sort of organizational consulting full time. Mm-hmm. And was, a lot of exciting projects. I did a strategic plan for the John Coltrane home in Dix Hills. It's the home where he wrote A Love Supreme. Mm-hmm. So I worked with a group of consultants and spearheaded and led that strategic plan. And in February, we moved in this place in January. In February, I was working on a little humble brag here. I was working on a plan for the Obama Presidential Center with a team of.
What you say, a humble brag?
And
nicely put.
And then during that time, I got a LinkedIn message from a colleague, Katina Whitlock, telling me that she thought she saw this job and she thought I was perfect for it. And I read the job description and it was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I applied for the job. I went to my wife after I applied for it immediately. Went to my wife and I said, I just applied for a job. She said, where? I said, here. And she said, what? You applied for a job? She still can't believe that I wanted to go work again. But I put my name in a hat and they went through the search committee process. And here I am and having a ball, loving every minute of it.
Really? Mm-hmm. Good. That's good. Because I understand what you say, when I was just kind of coming through home after 35 years in Las Vegas.
Right.
And then my mother was living alone. So I said, well, I'll come back. Between my brother and myself, I said, well, I'll stay 2 years and then you come. And then I'm going to move to D.C. or Maryland, really. I just want to be 10 minutes away from D.C. I was going to move to Silver Springs. That's my plan. So it's really funny, Andre, because we have some things in common. I thought I was supposed to be a physical therapist.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I went to Kentucky State. I majored in health and physical education. They told me I was 30 hours short of being certified as a physical therapist. Mm-hmm. But along comes the new birth. So I drop out of school and I go sing with the new birth, right? Mm-hmm. So
speaking of Newburgh, speaking of Newburgh,
New birth, yeah, New birth. All of us were from.
Weren't they from the Newburgh neighborhood?
No, they just all from. It's not called New birth. BIRTH.
I thought I guess that's an urban legend that they were from. There were a couple of them were from Newburgh.
There are a couple of them were from Newburgh. Okay. Tony Churchill and Austin Landers. They are from Newburgh, and it was 17 of us, so it was we were from all over the city. So,
but I know the Kentucky State was the
was Midnight Star.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, Midnight Star. Yeah,
Midnight Star's from Kentucky State, but I'm the only one from Kentucky State that was in the new birth.
Right.
So anyway, 17 people. I got a royalty check, Andre, for $27. I went back to school. I said, I'll see y'all later. It didn't work out for me. So because I enjoyed going to school, I really wanted my degree. So I went back to school. But it's something. So tell me the path that you see for the Fund for the Arts. What's your vision?
Well, number one, we got to democratize the arts. I think a lot of people, when you say the arts to them, they think of what some folks call the high arts or fine arts, which is the orchestra, the ballet, the opera,
right?
The fine art museum, the visual art, like the Speed,
right?
And yes, that's the arts,
right?
But I don't believe in fine or high arts. I just say that fine art or high art is just art that has folk art that has stood the test of time. It was all with the peasants at some point in time.
Okay.
That's where it came out. It came out the neighborhoods before it got downtown.
Okay.
And so we got to debunk this whole notion that the arts are only for certain people.
Right.
And we have to democratize it. And so I have this whole campaign we're doing. There was an op-ed in yesterday's Courier Journal called "I Am an Artist." It was on the front page of the forum section.
Okay.
Yesterday's Courier, where we want to make sure that people understand that everybody's an artist. We all, you think about what we do with little kids. There's no separation between art in the life of a young child and whatever else they do in their lives. They're all, they're down on the ground with crayons, dancing, they're play acting, they're singing, they're moving, And so that, you know, the art and the artistic expression and the creativity is a part of all they do. They're singing their ABCs.
Right.
You know, so but then at a certain part, at the time in life, we compartmentalize it. And
Yeah.
then for those who want to actually go on and have art to be a part of their life going forward past a certain point, there's this whole sort of false dichotomy that you got to give that up and actually go get serious about life and get a job instead of
Like that's not a serious occupation to have, to be an artist.
right. And even sort of beyond that, I mean, not everybody can quote unquote make a living doing art, but that doesn't mean you have to give it up.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you can't do it, you know, on the side and make a little money doing it. Doesn't mean that you can do it on the side and not make any money. Just do it because you love it.
Because you love it. Exactly.
But because people get beat down with that sort of false narrative, people hide and don't consider themselves to be artists, or don't consider that what they do art to be artistic. So we got to dispel that myth as well, to understand that we are all artists, that it's creativity's inside all of us. And I think that as we democratize that and allow people to understand that that's a part of who they are, then we'll get a greater appreciation for what the arts are in general.
Wouldn't you say, though, that one of the things that I came upon, a decision that I had to make, was, you know, I was always trying to do the demo tape, so get somebody to get me a recording contract. And I figured out that I was not a recording artist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a performing artist.
Okay. Yeah,
and I've made a living being a performing artist. You know, so when I made my first CD, it was 2005, and I produced it myself. Okay. But my whole thing is, I didn't need somebody to tell me whether I could sing or not.
Right.
You know, that to validate that I had talent, more or less. You know, and so that's what, you know, and to put my life and my talent in the hands of a record company to say, yes, you can, or no, you can't, and stop my dreams and ambitions, was not something I decided to do. So I took another path. And when I took that path, I wasn't really looking for that recording contract anymore, which made my life a whole lot easier. And in my head, I had a good time living in the space in my head. You know, nobody I didn't need somebody else to validate my talent.
Right. I mean, and what goes on a lot is that people stop or they quit pursuing what level of talent or art or artistic, you know, endeavors that they're pursuing, is because they're looking for someone to tell them that it's okay. And that's what this I Am an Artist campaign, that's what we're trying to do. We want to let you know that it's okay for you to be an artist. It's okay. Right. You should validate it in yourself more so than waiting for somebody else to give you the validation.
Right. You know, it's I mean, because I've been 50 years in show business right now.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I wanted to celebrate it last year, Andre, but then COVID said, oh no, I was going to Paris, you know, to celebrate in Paris. Everything was big. I turned a certain age. You know, and all of these
51. You turned 51 last
year. I turned 51 one more time. And but I feel that I've grown with my music because and I know you have an affinity for jazz. Naturally, I listen to all those jazz artists that you just mentioned that you were managing. And I have now not just say that I'm a jazz singer, but I have actually grown with the music. I have a much better grasp than I did when I was 21, 22 years old. You know, so I had to sit back and watch Nancy and check out Nancy. Well, because Nancy was my idol. That was the phrasing and the articulation and the whole storytelling that she did work for me, you know. But I also came up with under who was that? Dionne Warwick and Dusty Springfield and Shirley Bassey. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, so I had to incorporate all these people and Lena Horne. I saw Lena Horne's one woman show on Broadway, and I was done. I was just done. I did a whole show on Lena Horne.
Talk about a timeless treasure. That's one right there, boy.
Woo, man. And Jane Carroll. You look at you. I mean, it's like to say that Nancy is not here anymore is devastating to me.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, I met her I walked in her dressing room at the Blue Note.
Oh, okay. Down on Westport?
Yes, sir. I went by myself. I was living in New York in 86. And I went, bought my ticket, went to show, sat front and center. I said, I'm going to meet me some Nancy Wilson today. And I walked in her dressing room and I said, Miss Wilson, I said, I am very sorry to invade your privacy. I said, but I had to just come and meet you because I have been living with you since I heard Don't Rain on My Parade. Because my stepfather used to tell me, you're not singing if you're not singing some Ella or some Nancy or some Dinah, you know. And I kept saying, well, who's he talking about? And so I would come home from school, Andre, and I'd play my stepfather's albums.
There you go.
And I found Nancy, and I haven't been the same since. You know, so you're right as far as the arts go. I mean, and Louisville is full of artistic people. I mean, I always thought I came from a city that we always had live bands, we had live music growing up. Didn't you have a lot of bands as you were coming up here?
No, actually, I don't remember. I'm sure it was going on, but I really wasn't paying much attention. I mean, I was a big music fan, but more or less listening to records, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I would walk up to Vine Records. Remember Vine Records on Preston and Broadway?
Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
My mother would let me walk up because I was right past the Louisville Slugger Factory.
Okay.
Right on Preston Street. So when I was 6, 7, I walked up there when I was 7 years old and bought my first record, which was in 1970. No, 6 years old. I was 6 years old. 1972. Went up there and bought Stevie Wonder's Inner Vision.
Okay, I hear you.
And so, but I was collecting records at a very young age, listening to music. So I mean, I wasn't really a big live music fan. I was just into music. You know, I thought if there was anything I was going to do, which was work at a record store. But you know, but like I said, you know, I got in the first grade. My first grade teacher said, "You're going to be a doctor." So, but I always had a really good relationship with music, and always loved music. Got introduced to jazz in Smoketown at in Lloyd's Barbershop on Hancock and Jacob.
Okay, Hancock and Jacob. Okay, so now that's somewhere close to the Blue Moon, ain't it? Yeah. I'm trying to think. Where was the Blue? Yeah, that is close to the Blue Moon. Yeah. Because see, I had an uncle, Tony Mack, that afternoons he would go there, and my aunt used to send my brother, say, "Go get Tony, tell him it's time for dinner." And he'd tell my brother, you know, "Don't come over here telling me it's time for dinner anymore." He'd have to walk to the Blue Moon because she was over on St. Catherine, close, over by Shelby Park. But that, you know, the history of Smoketown. Do you know Ruby Hyde? Ruby Hyde is over the Smoketown Historical. Oh, okay. She started having reunions, Smoketown reunions, a festival in the park. And they used to. What's funny is they used to have the Smoketown reunions in Shelby Park. Right. Yeah, but Shelby Park ain't in Smoketown, which is kind of crazy, right? Oh, it's not considered to be in Smoketown? No. I'll tell you the boundaries of Smoketown. It's Broadway to the north, Shelby to the east, Kentucky to the south, and Preston to the east. I mean, to the west. So, okay. So now what's to the south? Kentucky. Once you got on the other side of Kentucky Street, you weren't. You're not in Smoketown anymore. Yeah, you in Shelby Park. Well, I didn't know that. I don't know. Yeah, that's Shelby Park neighborhood. So you were there also when Shepherd Square was there and Grace Hope. Oh yeah. And all that. Okay. All right. All right. Well, what this young lady does as for people that have been raised in Smoketown is when they pass on, she gives them a proclamation from the Smoketown organization. And she's been she's been doing it about 20 years. I think last year she finally just retired, trying to find someone younger to carry on the mantra, you know. So yeah. Our family's in the
PCC, what we used to call Grace Hope, the PCC had a Smoketown Hall of Fame, and so my family was in the Hall of Fame. And then when I was in when I was at Jazz on Lincoln Center, I was inducted into the Smoketown Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's something about. I tell people a lot of times, especially people that have children, when your children want to leave Louisville and go someplace else, go to school someplace else, let them go.
Right.
Because there was kind of a sheltered thing that was happening, except for those of us whose parents figured we could, I guess, handle ourselves, that we had to break out of. Because when I got out of Kentucky State, he was like, I'm not staying here.
Right.
I said, I have to go someplace other than to the Cool Jazz Festival in Cincinnati. It's got to be someplace else to go. And my family was every summer we went to stay with relatives in other cities and states. And when I went to Kentucky State, I went to school. They opened up registration. They gave a discount for out-of-state students.
Mm-hmm.
So then we had an influx of New York and DC and Detroit, coming to Kentucky State, which made it a very broad range of people that I got to meet. I never came home. I was 50 miles away. My mama said, when you coming home? I said, Christmas. I said, I can go to a different city every weekend with a friend.
Right.
So then when I graduated, it was like, I won't be here long. So to step outside of your comfort zone is a really kind of a big to do. And I think Louisvillians have that chutzpah.
Right.
I think we've all got a little bit of that Muhammad Ali spirit that ain't nobody better than us. That we should be able to do and to be motivators for our children to step out.
Yep.
So on that note, as far as the African American community, the musicians, the singers, the dancers, the playwrights, things of that nature, what do you see? How can we get more exposure through the Fund for the Arts?
Well, I mean, like I said, we're going to do our best to democratize the arts across all disciplines of art, across all neighborhoods. We are looking to start initiatives where one of the things we want to do is not just deal with the arts that we expect people to come and sit in the seat and be entertained, if you will, or engage with the art. We want to be able to do things with arts the same way we deal with kids. We want to engage adults in the arts in the same way that we deal with little kids. So we want to bring arts into the neighborhoods where we can do arts classes, have some engagement with children of all ages, as we say, so that you can have an opportunity to, take a class in visual art or dance, or because, one of the things that I saw when I was down the street here at Central Park during the Kentucky Shakespeare Festival, Shakespeare in the Park in Central Park.
Right.
Last week, I think it was last week, or maybe it was the week before last, they had the week where they had Shakespeare and dance, where the ballet was there, and they performed every night from Wednesday through Saturday. But opening the show every night was a different community-based dance company.
Oh,
so
okay.
They had Lanita's Rockettes.
Lanita Rockettes.
Yeah, with the little kids, and they had different, dance companies, many of which I didn't even know exist. A lot of grassroots and community ones, pre-professional. So you were able to see, dancers from all levels, from all different neighborhoods, have a place to showcase their dancing. So I'd like to see, and we'll work so that not just with dance, with whether it be acting or singing or whatever it might be, visual art and performing art, that we can, help foster that type of engagement. Okay. With artists, of varying levels, whether it be very beginners, because the Rockettes, they were up there. Harlena had some little girls up there were 8, 9, 10 years old doing their first recital.
Recital,
And
right,
had only been doing it for like 3 weeks, and had the cute little outfits on. They were
right,
adorable, and they were on point. And
right,
so, to see that, and then you see another dance company that is got some professional dancers and there's some pre-professional dancers. Then you see the world-class ballet dancers on the stage after that. So to see
right,
that whole continuum of that was very beautiful. And I just like to be able to see that happen in every neighborhood,
right.
where people can celebrate their own art in their own style, speaking to them and who they are across all of that, so that we are seeing engagement at all levels.
Right, right. You know what I think about thinking about the New York experience, Andre, is I was a lover of the Jazzmobile. I went
Oh,
to
yeah,
Jazzmobile school for 3 years. That was
yes,
the best thing
that's,
I felt I got out of living in New
yeah.
York.
My former colleague at Jazz and Lincoln Center, Robin Bell Stevens,
Hmm.
Aaron Bell's daughter. Aaron Bell played bass for Duke Ellington. He's on that Duke Ellington, John Coltrane album.
Okay.
Her father played bass on that album. She runs Jazzmobile now. It's a dear friend and colleague, Robin Bell Stevens. So yeah, I love Jazzmobile.
Yeah, Jazzmobile. The school we went to every Saturday for 3 months.
Mm.
It cost $35, and you had to audition. You had to pass. It was like just a hearing test. Sing the notes that they gave you, and so you did beginning, um, intermediate, and advanced. And when we got to the advanced class, uh, John Hendricks
Oh yeah.
was one of our master class
Mhm.
teachers when I got to and after I finished the 3 years of going to that, because it was like we learned how to write a blues song, we learned how to transpose your songs into your key,
Yeah.
things of that nature. And it was like when that was done, and I stood in New York, well, I understand, I was in a gypsy cab fussing
Mm.
with the driver about how much I'm getting ready to pay him. And I
Mm.
said, why am I still here doing this?
Right. Right. Right.
It's like, have I done everything I came here to do? Yes. So I went home and I booked my ticket to get out of there, because once I caught myself, Andre, I was standing in the snow at a bus stop. Now I own a house and a car in Las Vegas.
Mm.
I said, "Ooh, I must be really serious about this show business."
Mm.
I'm standing in the snow waiting for a bus.
Mm.
But hey, you realize where you want to go and what you want to do in moments like that.
Yeah.
And New York is not for the faint of heart.
No. 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 It's
I
like I
said,
said, like dog years. I mean, I love my time there. I was there for
yeah,
10 years. There for
it's
10 years. I mean, when I go back, it's very familiar.
yeah,
Even though you leave New York for 2 weeks and come back to the same spot, it'll change. But it still has a very familiar thing. I still know my way around.
right,
Yeah.
right. It was like people used to say, I say, Frank Sinatra said, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. I said, Frank Sinatra live in Palm Springs. Keep telling me about some Frank Sinatra. Well, Andre, I really appreciate having you on. I plan to stay in touch with you. If you ever
Yes,
need
please.
me for whatever reason, if you've got something that's going on that you want the community to know about, that you want to come back and be on the show.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time out to have me on here. It's very, like I said, it's very much appreciated.
Well, I want them to know you, because I know you, because I know you got it going on. And we've got some movers and shakers in this city that we've got some things that have changed. I
Right.
see a shift. There
Yeah,
has been a shift.
there's a shift in the leadership. As you know, we got some Black folks in leadership now. I mean, I
Yeah.
saw Cleo was on your show.
Yes.
Has Adria been on your show?
Who?
Adria Johnson from Metro United Way.
No, but
Yeah.
Yvette Gentry has.
Yes.
So, but the young lady you just mentioned, she just got appointed her position, didn't she? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, get her on there. Yeah.
Okay, I will. But that's what, because I want the community to know who's here that's doing things that looks like us.
Yes.
So we need to know that so we can be supportive of you.
Yes. Amen.
Okay. So take care of yourself. I'll
All
see you
right.
soon.
Thank
And
you.
if you need me, just holler.
All right. And if you want to learn more about what we're doing, funforthearts.org.
Fun for the arts. You know what? See, let me tell you something. Hold up. Just give me 1 second. We don't have to go that fast. I give everybody gets at least an hour, and I've done more. Just hold up. Okay. Just give me a minute. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see if this will happen. Funforthearts.org. How about that?
There you go. Yeah. So check us out. See what's going on. If the Spirit moves you, donate. But we not only want folks to donate their money, but we want them to donate their time in terms of getting engaged in what we're doing, finding out what we're doing. The other thing, this is a little plug on
Okay.
on Wednesdays. I do. You came through when I do Wednesdays. Every Wednesday at 5:30 and 6 o'clock. I have 2 slots for the community, so anybody can come and meet with me or anybody else on my staff.
Just come up to the front,
Yeah,
to the office.
you have to go online and sign up for a meeting for
Okay.
any of the slots. We do it every Wednesday, and so
every Wednesday. That's wonderful.
it's called After Hours.
Go
And
ahead.
we're going to do that. I'm going to continue that throughout my entire tenure. So every Wednesday, 2 half-hour slots, because I want to know what's going on in the community. I want to know what
And you want to be accessible.
Yeah, I want people to know what we're doing. I want to know what's going on. Excuse me, so we can keep our finger on the pulse of the arts community and be able to better serve.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Andre. We're glad to have you here.
Well, thank you.
Glad to be home.
Okay.
We'll make it work. After the initial shock of being here,
Yeah.
it'll settle in.
Yeah.
But we're glad to have you over at the Fun for the Arts, and we're looking forward to great things from you. And like I said, I'm here for you whenever you need me.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Good night. All right. Andre Guess. Now, Louisville's rocking and rolling. We got Andre Guess. We got Cleo Battle. We've got the young lady, Adrian, over at United Way. We've got, who else? We got Tony Parrott at MSD. We've got Akram down at the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage. What else we have? We have Lamont Collins over at Roots 101. We've got people in places doing things that can make us proud of our city, and people that are born and raised from Louisville doing things right here in their own backyard. How about that? Even me, who knew I'd be doing a talk show? That's what came out of COVID, because I couldn't go sing. But on that note, Friday we're going to have Mr. Nathaniel Spencer from We See You Productions. He's been working on my documentary for a while, but he's been doing some wonderful things in the community. Young man who has his own production company, and we're going to have Nathaniel on Friday. And then we'll work our way into getting ready for September, where we'll acknowledge Sickle Cell Month and talk about that. But everybody, put your mask on. I'll keep telling you, put your mask on, because if it's not for you, it's for somebody else. You have to be a little selfless. You have to be a little uncomfortable, but at least you'll be able to go out and be around people. Now, if you keep acting up like you don't want to pay attention or do the right thing, and I'm seeing where people are actually taking some other drug that's for horses and cows. Now, how much sense does that make? They'll take something for horses and cows, but they won't take the vaccine that will save their lives. Nobody wants to die from this disease, from COVID. Nobody. Take care of yourself. Guess who's coming to dinner? It's dinner time. Bon appetit. I'll see you on Friday. Take care.